Great take gives you 200 points, and a good take gives you 100. An okay take gives you 50, and a bad take, you come home empty-handed, you get 0 points. It's not a good day if you come home with the 0. I don't think we've gotten out of 0 quite yet, and I don't anticipate that that'll be the case today. So let's look at our first topic. It's fitting. We got the Cowboys, Cam Fan co-host. So let's go and get into the Dallas Cowboys, who fell at the very end on a walk-off field goal to the Miami Dolphins, 22-20, despite a game from Dak Prescott in which he had a couple touchdowns and a passer rating over 100. Tua Tagovailoa, nearly 300 yards passing, again leading the game-winning drive at the end. Tyreek Hill, nearly 100 yards receiving. The game lived up to the billing. It was about as entertaining as we all kind of figured that it would be. I will start with Adam right now. What is the biggest reason, again, you all obviously Cowboys fans, what's the biggest reason the Cowboys have had this little two-game skid?
I mean, I think it's fitting for us to say the Cowboys are the biggest reason for the two-game slip, but ultimately I do think it comes down to the coaching. I think when we look at how the Cowboys responded to the Bills, specifically the defense, the Cowboys defense, we just weren't making the proper adjustments. We couldn't stop the run game, and we got set in our own ways. So you got to chalk that up to a lot of the coaching. Either it's Dan Quinn on the defensive play calling, or even Mike McCarthy as the head coach, not saying we got to make some adjustments here. And I do feel like it still comes over to the Miami game, where there's a lot of questionable play calls in terms of what we were doing, and not getting, not stopping the motion that Miami is famous for, or is at least famous for with this current team under Mike McDaniel. So yeah, I'm gonna put it up to the coaching, and that goes all the way to even hyping the team up. We look at how lukewarm Mike McCarthy is, pre-game, post-game, mid-game, and it's just through and through, all the way from top to bottom. The coaching right now, I feel is what's making the team struggle the most on some of these road games against some of these tougher teams.
Sure, and that's obviously a big component because, when you go on the road, you're not going to have the momentum of the home crowd. It's even in Dallas, they'll have occasional road games like against the Chargers, which y'all were at, where they had the home field advantage. But that's a great point with Mike McCarthy. And I feel like the play calling was, especially in the second, third quarter, kind of odd because they force-fed the ball, rightfully so, by the way, to CeeDee Lamb the first quarter, went to him a lot in that last drive, which helped them get that touchdown to take the lead, but almost ignored him for quarters 2 and 3, despite the fact that he's far and away the best receiver on the team. So I'm going to give you a great take, Adam, with the 50 points, the Kraken 50 points. There you go, Adam Bessie, a great take to start the 8 o'clock spot. Congratulations. He's starting off with a bang. To now, Anth, your reaction to the Cowboys, and really more specifically, what's the biggest reason for their 2-game skid to Buffalo and to Miami?
So I don't know about the great take. I think coaching is a very broad subject. And by saying the coaching, like you brought up the rushing attack against Buffalo, yeah, it was terrible. But then they go against Miami and hold them for under 100. So I actually think Dan Quinn made some pretty good adjustments. They kept a high-flying offense to under 30 points. The Cowboys should win that game. But my biggest takeaway is the Cowboys haven't had any takeaways in the last 2 games. The Cowboys have had 21 takeaways, and they're all their prior 13 games. And then their 2 losses against Buffalo and Miami, a big fat goose egg. It breaks down to the most simplest thing in sports. Who takes the ball away? You could almost look at any game, and the biggest stat is almost the takeaway leaders. And we've lost that matchup in both last games. So yeah, coaching has been a problem, but if you don't take the ball away in January and hopefully in February, you're going to be going home. So my biggest takeaway is the Cowboys need to get more takeaways. If you want to beat Detroit at AT&T Stadium, you got to get back to taking the ball away. We had 21 prior, 0 in the last 2. Take that damn ball.
Absolutely. And obviously you got ball hawks like Deron Bland and Stephon Gilmore, guys like that, guys who are fully capable, and even the defensive line, guys like Micah Parsons to potentially get some strip sacks. And I mean, that's something too that obviously benefits the offense in a big way because you set them up in short fields, whereas felt like multiple times that game against Miami, they were set up at times inside their own 20. And it's hard to really establish anything good consistently, whether it be your offensive line, your passing game, or your running game in totality. So I'm actually going to give a great take. Hold on. I forgot to give the 50 points there, Anthony. I don't want to sell you short here, but there you go. 250, you're tied with Adam. 250 points, a great take there for Anthony. Let's move on to AJ. Your reaction to the Cowboys loss, and more specifically, the biggest reason for their 2-game losing streak.
Is my mic on? Is my mic working, guys?
Your mic is working, AJ.
I think for me, what stands out the most on these losses was missing like big moments. And 2 that come to mind, and there were more. Dak against the Bills, throwing that bomb to Cooks that could have been a momentum-changing touchdown. They didn't get points on the board, and then kind of continued their poor play after that moment. And against the Dolphins, there was that debacle on the goal line. TP20 stopped by a sea hare on the goal line, and then a fumble as well from Dak to Hunter Lepke. Big turnover there. So those are just two moments out of 2 full games of play, but it's the big moments that the Cowboys have been missing that have just not been allowing them to keep rolling, get some momentum going. Then they have to punt, or worse yet, they lose the ball.
That's a great point, and that's something that's really kind of the big kind of criticism coming into the season, throughout the season, that Dallas, for as talented as they are, for as many games they've won, now against good teams, that narrative's gone, because now the Rams are streaky, now the Seahawks are playing well, they obviously beat Philadelphia, is the fact that they're not in great situation. We know the end of the game against Philadelphia, in Philadelphia, obviously the game against the Dolphins, kind of struggling at times, especially defensively, to kind of get stops. The fumble on the goal line is probably the game-changing play. If they're able to score there, whether it's Tony Pollard, as you mentioned, AJ, or whether it's Lipke, the missed handoff between him and Dak, we'll probably have a very different conversation about where they are in the standings and maybe potentially in the division race. But I'm going to give you as well, AJ, great take as well. I'm not going to give you the crack. Actually, you know what? You did get the crack him. He came in late in the clutch. So you know what? Let's give him the 250. Okay. So again, crack if you got him, AJ, 250. So we got a 3-way tie going into the second round of the 8 o'clock spot. We're going to have some fun here tonight. Cannot wait.